thank you for coming back to my channel. If you are new here, make sure you stick around. I'm trying this new thing with my channel. We're going to get into true crime. Yes, true crime. So I'm going to be talking about closed cases, open cases, things that are on the news, all those kind of things. But I don't want this to just be a true crime channel, so understand that. I do like doing my vlogs. I have a couple of ideas. But today's video is specifically, if I'm talking crazy, it's because I got these things in my mouth and I have to get used to talking with them. It really feels like, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know what to compare it to, but it's difficult talking with things in your mouth. So I'm trying to get used to that. But today's case is about a 24-year-old young man. His name is Donovan Parks. Let's get into it. All right. So if you see me looking down, it's because I have my notes. I want to be as accurate as can be. This is someone's child, son, brother that we're talking about. So Donovan Parks, he was 24 years old. He worked in the correctional field from all the things that I saw. And disclaimer, this case is from 1996. So there were a couple resources that I reviewed online, and some said he was a prison guard at a correctional facility. Others said he was a parole officer. So let's just say he was in the correctional field. He worked with some dangerous guys. So the event takes place March 28th, 1996 in Milledgeville, Georgia. And I was like, where is Milledgeville, Georgia? So I had to Google it. And I Googled it, and it is south of Atlanta, kind of like southeast of Atlanta. I think it said it was like 80 miles from Atlanta. So a small town called Milledgeville. And I say small because I've never heard of it. Yeah. So Donovan was leaving church. He went to Wednesday night Bible study, and he headed over to Walmart to get his kitty some food before returning home. Unfortunately for Donovan, he would not return home that night. He ran into two guys at the Walmart. The two guys asked him for a ride. He obliged. One source said that he worked with one of the guys at a Burger King in the past, so he was kind of familiar with him or knew this. Witnesses would observe or hear what they thought to be an engine backfiring, but when they went to look out, it was Donovan laying in the street. So Donovan was shot in the street. Neighbors observed a body laying in the street that they did identify as Donovan along Fulton Street. They said it wasn't very far from the Walmart that he was previously seen at with the other two guys getting in his. About 8 hours later, the police found Donovan's car. He had an Acura. It was a blue Acura, and I'll insert a picture of it. But he had a blue Acura, and of course, what else do people do when they take things that don't belong to them? They tried to destroy it. So the perpetrators who took his vehicle and shot him tried to set his car on fire, but it was still identifiable when the police found it. Of course, it was still actually smoking. The fire department had to put it out. So it wasn't long, as most investigations go. The police wanted to figure out who were the last people seen with Donovan. So that's where they got the information from the people at Walmart. This story didn't say this, but I'm assuming that they either found the receipt or went around asking if anyone had seen or heard, and that's how they led them back to the Walmart to even get the information about the two guys. This is 1996, so I'm not sure how clear surveillance video would be on a grocery store, on a department store. I believe it existed. I'm positive it existed, but I'm not sure what the clarity or pixelation would be. So I think eyewitness is what brought them to the conclusion that I'm going to give you two guys' names here. Two guys, Wilson and Butts. What are their full names? Of course, they some juniors. Marion Wilson Jr. and Robert Butts Jr. Those are the two guys that he ran into at Walmart, and the two guys that Donovan allowed to get in his car that witnesses observed Butts getting in the front passenger seat and Wilson getting in the back. So there was some speculation because both Butts and Wilson belong to a street gang. I believe Folks Nation is what the article cited, and they believe this to be some kind of gang initiation or something to improve their status with the gang. But Donovan was shot in the head, and his body was left in the middle of the street, and they took off in his vehicle. The vehicle was found later, as I said, and I did read that some articles were saying that the guys tried to sell it. I don't know if that's factual, but there was one article that said that the guys did try to sell it. So either way, 4 days later, those two guys are brought in, they're questioned, and they're doing a lot of this. It was him. It was him. It wasn't me. It was him. But either way, a year later, the case goes to trial, and they are both found guilty of murder.
1996, Donovan Parks was murdered. Two men, Robert Earl Butts and Marion Wilson Jr., were convicted of his death.
It stood out to me because this young kid, he was a correctional officer in the corrections field. I read that he wanted to be a counselor, and he wanted to work with people who were very much like the guys who ultimately took his life. And I just think there's so much power in social work, wanting to heal the people of the world who are broken by cycles of trauma and pour what positivity of life you have into them. It's a gift to want to be a social worker, because you're not in it for the money. You're not in it for the money. So that being said, this case pulls at your heartstrings, because it's like, yeah, okay, these guys are found guilty and they are sentenced to death, but we know in America that people sit on death row for 10s and 20s of years. So Donovan's brother, his name is Chris, and he was interviewed 23 years later after these two guys, Wilson and Marion, have exhausted all of their appeals, and he's just expressing how frustrated he is with his brother's murder just never having any closure, because these guys sat on death row for 23 years. Finally, 23 years after the murder of Donovan Parks, Butts was the first to be executed in the state of Georgia. After 23 years, he is executed by lethal injection. And then a year after that, Wilson exhausts his final plea for clemency, and his appeal is denied. And he is also put to death by lethal injection. There's not really many... There's closure in this case, but it's like, when do families finally get to move on with their life? When they are constantly brought into the media about these appeals, and you see this on the news and that on the news, it's re-traumatizing for these families. Something I did find beautiful about the ending of this story is that Chris, Donovan's brother, he named his daughter after his brother in honor of his memory. Donovan Corey Parks, so Chris gave his daughter his brother's middle name, and I think that's beautiful. But I will say, shout out to the Parks family, because they were there at the execution, and they were saying that yes, this is the end to those guys, but it does not bring back Donovan Parks. All right, so with all that being said, with my extreme movement in my mouth, I just want to say that is it for today's case. I know it was quick. I do have a couple ideas, so make sure you come back to my channel. I want to do something with liquor. I got a couple recipes that I want to try with you guys. Maybe crime and cocktails. Right now I'm thinking, you know, it's cozy. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There was no way that I was going to be making a cocktail because I have to go into work in a little bit. But I wanted to make sure I got this video filmed because if you didn't notice, it's been a while since I posted a video on this channel. But I want to encourage you guys, stick with me. I got a couple things coming for you. And I want to say thank you for watching this video. Thank you for clicking on my face. And don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And I will see you in my next upload. Y'all have a good one. Bye. We live? Is this it? Are we safe here? Are we safe here? I think I like it. I think I like it. Let's scoot back. Actually, let's sit up. Hey, there we go. Oh, there we go. Okay.